She looked me up and down like I was dirt on her shoe. Then she clinked her wine glass and said to a room full of people, "To the daughter that actually made us proud. My name is Rachel Monroe. And from wherever you're watching this, tell me in comments, have you ever been treated like a stranger in your own family?" I had flown 14 hours from Boston to San Diego. No warning. No call. Just heart. I'd saved for months, rearranged my work schedule, and even skipped a promotion ceremony just to be there on her 65th birthday. I stood in the backyard of the home I helped her keep, through 2 foreclosures. The home I remodeled top to bottom after Dad passed. The home I was on the deed for. And yet, when she turned around and saw me, her smile dropped like a stone in cold water. She blinked twice, tilted her head and said with venom so polite it cut, "Oh, you still exist?" Then came the glass raise. The toast. The dig. To the daughter that actually made us proud. Everyone laughed. Champagne shimmered. And my younger sister, Madison, dripping in designer from a man she's known 6 months, blushed like a debutante. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. I just stood there in my simple blue dress, gift in hand, heart bruised but not broken. She hadn't known I was coming. But more than that, she hadn't wanted me to come. I was the quiet one. The practical one. The one who paid bills and solved crises and filed taxes. Madison was the dazzle, the drama, the social media darling who once borrowed $5,000 from me for rent, and used it to buy a Pomeranian. And still it was her name in the toast. Not mine. So I smiled. That slow, dangerous smile you smile when you realize something deep. Not just that you're unloved, but unwanted. And as I turned to walk inside, her voice rang out again, louder this time. "Rachel, don't forget to bring the house deed tomorrow. We need you to sign it before the bank closes." I paused at the patio door. The same door I installed with my own 2 hands. And I whispered to myself, "You want the house, huh? Then watch me build a stage on your pride, and set fire to your applause." The morning after her birthday, I sat at the kitchen island, the same one I built when she couldn't afford contractors, sipping black coffee and listening to her heels click upstairs. She hadn't said goodnight. She hadn't even opened the gift I left on the table. But she had texted me. Just one line. "Don't forget the deed. Madison's bringing the notary at noon." Not please. Not thank you. Just that cold, entitled sentence, like I was some clerk assigned to fulfill her fairy tale. When she walked down, she didn't even look at me. "Make sure you dress nice. You'll be in the pictures," she said, flipping her hair and checking her reflection in the microwave. I stared at her. The woman who used to braid my hair before school. The woman who once told me I was her miracle child, after 3 miscarriages. Where had she gone? It's funny. She only called me when bills were due. Or when Madison had wrecked another car. Or when the bank sent another foreclosure notice. But when it came time to celebrate, I was invisible. That morning, Madison waltzed in like a reality TV star. Faux humility, real diamonds. "Hey sis," she purred. "Mom says we're putting the house under my name for tax reasons. It's just temporary." I nodded slowly. "So, the house that's in my name now, is going to be in your name, temporarily?" Madison blinked, caught off guard. Then smirked. "Yeah. You don't even live here, Ratch. It just makes sense." My mother walked in right then, clapping her hands like a pageant coach. "Girls, let's not fight. Rachel, be a dear and go get the deed. The notary's on her way." He kissed my cheek. It was ice. So I went upstairs, opened my suitcase, pulled out the folder with the deed, and stared at it. My name. Not hers. Not Madison's. I had saved her from losing this house 3 times. I had used my own credit, my own savings, to keep that roof over her head. And now they wanted to write me out of it like I never existed. Like I was just a pen they borrowed and forgot to return. So I made a choice. One quiet, deliberate, and permanent choice. I picked up the folder, slipped the deed into my tote bag, and walked straight out the front door. No note. No goodbye. Not a single word. Because sometimes revenge doesn't need fireworks. Sometimes it starts with silence and a signature you don't give. I didn't go far. Just to the little diner on Main Street. The one where Dad used to take me for milkshakes after parent-teacher conferences. I sat in a corner booth, ordered a black coffee I barely touched, and called the bank. The same one listed on the refinance papers my mother had begged me to co-sign. "Hi, this is Rachel Monroe. I need to halt the pending transfer on a property deed. I'm one of the primary owners. The man on the phone asked me to verify everything. And I did, slowly, calmly, like a woman sealing a vault. Yes, I told him. No, I have not signed anything. Yes, I am withholding consent. He paused, clearly uncomfortable. Ms. Monroe, they've already submitted preliminary paperwork for transfer under your name. I smiled, the kind that doesn't reach your eyes. They submitted forged paperwork? Silence. Then a cough. I can't confirm that. But without your signature, the transfer can't legally proceed. Good, I said. Make sure it doesn't. Then I hung up. Outside, the clouds rolled in heavy, thick with summer storm energy. I took that as a sign. Not from God. From justice. Back at the house, my phone lit up like fireworks. Missed calls. Texts. Then Madison's name popped up with a message that simply read, "Where the hell is the deed?" I didn't answer. At exactly 12:16 p.m. my mother called. No, hello. No, sweetheart. Just, are you serious right now, Rachel? He just left. The notary is sitting here. You're making me look like a damn fool. I took a breath. Felt every muscle in my jaw tighten. Then I said softly, "Oh, so now I exist?" Silence. The kind that confirms you just landed a punch where it hurts most. You're being vindictive, she spat. This is why we don't trust you. You act like you're better than everyone. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was finally freeing. No, Mom. I just stopped letting you treat me like a spare part. Then I hung up. And turned off my phone. Because that day wasn't about her anymore. Or Madison. Or the notary waiting with fake smiles and expensive pens. It was about reclaiming the years I spent being quiet. Being dutiful. Being invisible in the home I helped keep afloat. She wanted my signature. Instead, I gave her silence. And silence can echo louder than any toast at any party. That night, I checked into a quiet hotel by the coast. I didn't cry. Didn't pace. Didn't second guess. I ordered wine. Sat on the balcony. And let the ocean remind me what peace sounded like. It was strange, how calm I felt. Like my soul had finally sat down after standing too long. By morning, I had over 30 missed calls. Texts from Madison that grew more frantic. Voice notes from my mother that started polite and ended vicious. Rachel, please. I'm sorry, okay? You're blowing this out of proportion. I need that deed, sweetie. I told the bank it was already done. Don't make me beg. But it was already too late. Not because I was angry, but because I was done. I opened my email, attached a scanned copy of the original deed and sent it to my lawyer. Subject line, do not release ownership. Full stop. Then I CC'd the bank. Just for fun. I added my mother. That was when things spiraled. At exactly 11:42 a.m. the bank called. The same banker from the day before. His voice was tight, uncomfortable. Ms. Monroe, your mother came in with someone claiming to be you. Attempted to sign on your behalf. I froze. Excuse me. Yes, ma'am. He had a woman with her. Same last name. They presented a photocopy of your ID. A beat. Then I asked, did you process anything? No. We flagged it. The manager called me because he remembered our conversation. We've escalated this to legal. I closed my eyes. Breathed in the ocean. And smiled. They had tried to forge my signature. To take the house I paid for. And write me out of existence. But the thing about Ghost. We always return with unfinished business. I texted Madison just 5 words. You impersonated me. Legal's involved. She replied instantly. All caps. You wouldn't dare. Mom's health can't handle this. I stared at the screen. The audacity was almost impressive. They tried to steal my future. And now they were using guilt as a weapon. I texted back. Tell Mom to raise her glass again. This time to consequences. Then I blocked her. Because forgiveness isn't owed when betrayal is premeditated. And sometimes, daughters stop dancing for the mothers who never once clapped. 3 days later the letter arrived. A formal envelope, thick paper, gold-trimmed seal. The kind meant to intimidate. My mother was suing me. For emotional distress. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. It wasn't about the house anymore. It was about power. Control. She couldn't believe I had the audacity to say no and mean it. But he forgot. I didn't just sign her medical forms anymore. I sign my own checks. I forwarded the letter to my lawyer, Marlene, who called within an hour. Rachel, she said, this is smoke. They have no case. But we can hit back. Hard. Let's do it, I said. As if she wanted war. She was about to meet the version of me she raised. The one who never flinched, never cried where people could see. That afternoon, Marlene filed a cease and desist. We also subpoenaed the bank security footage, the moment Madison tried to sign in my place. By the next morning, my mother's lawsuit was dropped. No apology. Just silence. The kind that comes before a storm, or after you've lost. But the most beautiful part? Her mortgage application was denied. The bank called me to explain. Given the red flags surrounding the property's ownership and your official hold, we've rejected the financing request. I didn't gloat. Didn't send a text. Didn't post a thing. I just sat on my hotel bed, opened the same notebook where I used to scribble love poems as a girl. And I wrote one line. You don't get to profit from the daughter you pretend doesn't exist. 2 hours later, my cousin Brittany sent me a video. It was from the same birthday dinner. The one I had ruined by walking in. My mother was red-faced, yelling into her phone in the driveway. You don't understand. That house is supposed to be mine. She wouldn't even be anything without me. In the background, someone whispered, that's not how you talk about your daughter. And still, she didn't flinch. Didn't even realize she was being recorded. She didn't know the whole town had started to see through her act. That every toast she made had a bitter aftertaste now. You can pour champagne into a crystal glass. But poison still burns the throat. A week passed. Then no calls. No messages. Just a cold, consuming silence from the woman who once told me I was her biggest disappointment. Until one afternoon I got a knock at my hotel door. It was Brittany, my cousin. Eyes puffy. Lip trembling. She's unraveling, Rachel. I let her in. She collapsed onto the armchair like her bones had given up. She's calling everyone. Crying one second, cursing the next. She told Grandma you were brainwashed. I said nothing. She's trying to sell the house behind your back, Brittany added, voice hollow. But nobody will buy it now. Your name's still on the title and the bank flagged her for fraud. I nodded. Not out of joy, but because some falls have to hurt. You know, Brittany whispered. She told me once she wished you'd just disappear quietly. Like you were an embarrassment. Like all you ever did was get in the way. My chest tightened, not from surprise but from memory. I remembered being 13, hiding in the laundry room, listening as she told my aunt, Rachel's too soft. She won't make it. She's nothing like Madison. But she was wrong. I wasn't soft. I was scarred. There's a difference. The next morning I checked out of the hotel and drove back to the house, my house. I didn't knock. Just walked in with my keys. She was in the kitchen in her robe, hair tied up, face bare. When she saw me, she froze. I told you, she snapped, voice shaking. This is my home. I placed a manila envelope on the counter. Inside, a formal eviction notice. Filed. Stamped. Final. She stared at it like it had teeth. I gave you every chance, I said, voice steady. You looked me in the eye and called me invisible. You brought Madison in to forge my name. You sued me, Mother. She reached for a chair, slumped down. I made mistakes, she began. No, I cut in. You made choices. She opened her mouth, but I walked out. Because I wasn't there to relive pain. I was there to reclaim power. And as I stepped into the sunlight, I realized something. Forgiveness doesn't always come in hugs. Sometimes, it comes in signatures. The house was mine again. Not just on paper. Not just in bank filings or title deeds. It felt mine, the air clearer, the silence no longer hostile. I walked through each room barefoot, touching the walls like they were old friends I'd finally come home to. She was gone. My mother left without a word the day the sheriff showed up to enforce the eviction. No tantrum. No dramatic last speech. Just a bitter silence and the sound of wheels dragging 2 overstuffed suitcases out the door. I should have felt relief. Instead I felt hollow. Because the truth is, revenge doesn't taste sweet when it's served to someone who was supposed to love you. But it was necessary. I poured myself a glass of red wine that night, sat on the back porch, and watched the lights of the city blink beneath a quiet sky. Then my phone rang. Blocked number. I almost didn't answer. but something in me needed to hear what she'd say. I picked up. A long pause. Then her voice. You're really going through with this? Yes, I said simply. Another pause. I heard traffic. Maybe she was in a car, maybe just walking nowhere. You think this makes you better than me? She hissed. No. It makes me free. She scoffed. You ungrateful little. I hung up. Because that's the thing about people like her. They don't want healing. They want control dressed in an apology. The next morning Madison emailed me. A long, desperate message. She claimed she didn't know Mom would go that far. That she was just trying to help. Then came the real reason she wrote. I'm about to lose my condo. I wouldn't ask, but you always said family came first. Can you loan me $10,000? I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Marlene. Then I wrote myself a note. People will call you heartless for building boundaries, especially the ones who only loved you when you were bleeding for them. That night I opened the drawer in the hallway, the one where Mom used to keep all the cards I sent her from overseas. I found every single one unopened. Birthday cards. Letters. Postcards from Greece, Japan, London. She never read a word. I sat on the floor holding the envelopes to my chest. And I whispered, you're not invisible anymore. Because I didn't just reclaim the house. I reclaimed me. A month later I listed the house for sale. Not out of spite. Out of peace. It had served its purpose, not as shelter but as a mirror. A place where I finally saw the truth without filters, without hope clouding my judgment. I didn't need to live there anymore. I just needed to let it go. The listing sparked whispers all over town. People asked if I was moving back overseas, if I'd reconciled with my mother, if the rumors were true that she'd tried to steal from me. I answered no one. Because some stories aren't theirs to hear. Then on a warm Friday morning, I walked into the same bank that had once called me to question the deed. This time they stood when I walked in. Ms. Hale, the branch manager smiled, we've completed the closeout on the house account. You'll receive the final wire within 24 hours. Thank you, I said. Come, clear. As I turned to leave, another banker, the young man who'd first flagged the forged paperwork, stopped me. I saw the footage, he said, of what they tried to do to you. Just wanted to say, you handled it with grace. Not many people could have walked away the way you did. I smiled but didn't say much. Because walking away was the hardest part. But it was also the part that saved me. 2 days later my mom sent a voice message. Not a call. Not a letter. Just a clipped recording. I hope the money makes you happy. You always cared more about proving a point than being part of this family. I didn't respond. I archived it. Then played something better. A voicemail from years ago from my late father, the last one he ever left me. I'm proud of the woman you're becoming. No matter what your mom says, you have nothing to prove. Just live. That's enough. His voice cracked near the end. And so did I. I sat on the floor of my new apartment. Smaller, simpler, and full of light. And I let myself feel. Not anger. Not revenge. Not victory. Release. Because in the end I didn't burn her house down. I just refused to build mine inside her storm. Sometimes, the softest revenge is the silence that follows your peace.